Great, here we are. Hello and welcome to this session. Let me know how you are doing in the comments, please, especially everybody on the replay. Please do comment lots and I will get back to you there and then. So let's wait a little minute here to see who wants to join me live. Hi, Kate. It's been a while. How are you doing? I'm really excited about this session where we are going to talk about inner child healing. It's a super important topic, and many of you are aware of that, so I can't wait to share. Hi, Magda. How are you? So nice to see you too. I'm glad I got this working. The live producer is weird. Every time there's a different thing going on, that's why it took me some time to come on live. But here I am. And let's dive in. Magda, Kate, let me know how you're doing, what's going on in your world for you right now, in the middle of these intense times that we are in. And then we'll get going. So let's start with what your inner child actually, who she really is, okay? And from there, we're going to talk about why she is the key to most of your problems and how you can work with her. I'm going to share 3 different ways for you to work with her starting today. So your inner child is that part of you that has never grown up. It's just a part of you, the child that is still there within your adult self. And it holds your childhood wounds as much as your all of your amazing children's qualities like innocence and playfulness. And when we were hurt as children, we often didn't have the capacity to process that hurt at the time. And that wound is still there today. Getting lots of comments when I want to see. I have to switch around here. Hi, Brandy. Great to have you here as well. Magda, you're just coming back from a walk. Beautiful. I also just enjoyed the hour of sunshine we had. I went outside for the perfect moment. Now it's gray again. Yeah, so when we felt as children that part of who we were wasn't welcome to those we loved, then we discarded it. We put that part, out of sight, but it's still there. And those are the super sweet qualities of children that, might not be part of your life anymore, or not so much, like enthusiasm, curiosity, innocence, play. When our parents reacted to those qualities with stress or overwhelm or anger or just ignored them over a longer period, then we concluded that it was wrong to be like that, and we just stopped, because the most important thing for us as children is survival, and that means that we have to fit into our families. So now as adults, we must reclaim all of that if we want to heal and grow as a person. And the inner child is also where we hold all the sadness and the grief and the anger that we were not able to express at the time over that loss of who we were, and all the other traumatic things that happened around us. As children, we don't have this capacity to distinguish between ourselves and the world, which is because we realize that we are part of everything. But it also means that we don't know that not everything is our fault that happens. When something bad happens, we automatically think it's intimately connected to us, and then we look for what's wrong within ourselves. Unless, of course, we have amazing parents who tell us otherwise, like I try to do with my child, which, as all of you mamas know, is not always easy. But yeah. And, beneath those wounds that we've suffered from, that's where we can still find our, original innate playfulness, our sweetness, our innocence, our curiosity, our joy, just flowing with life, our creativity, aliveness, unconditional love, our uniqueness. And when we don't deal with these wounds that we have, they get triggered by the people who are in our life now, again and again. And that feels awful, when we, for example, scream at our children, like we were screamed at, or we fight with our partners like our parents fought. But it's a chance to realize that there is something deeper than the situation at hand, at work here, and that something inside of us needs healing. Now, in my own life, in that of many of my clients, it's inner child healing that has the most powerful impact again and again, and leads to the most amazing transformations. Because most of what we struggle with over a longer period of time goes back to childhood wounds. And I'm gonna give you a few examples of what that could look like. Hi Emma, great to have you here as well. How are you doing? So I'm gonna give you some examples of how your inner childhood wounds could express themselves in your life now. And please do let me know in the comments if this seems familiar. For example, when you don't have enough money coming in, or at least you feel like it's not enough money, then your inner child probably feels unworthy of earning more, or earning in an easier way, or whatever it might be. Now, I have certainly known this for a long time. Let me know in the comments if you have too. Now, my dad, for example, he would always earn really well. He's a music producer. He has his own studio. And yeah, he worked hard, but he earned well. And he wouldn't be particularly happy to share his money with my brothers and me. And that was really hard. I started to work when I was 15 because I had to. And from that time on, I always, had this wound of not feeling like I was worthy of receiving money. So who knows this feeling, unworthiness of receiving money? Always having to fight for the money that you get. So for me, it was really inner child healing that helped a lot with that wound. And then once I had really given my attention to that, I just started to earn more and more, and in a lot easier way. Okay, and another example of how your child could be showing up in your life is if you're not living your calling yet, if you're not doing for a living what you are, if you feel like, if you're doing any kind of 9-to-5 job where there's just a part of you that matters, but not all of you, if you don't even know what your calling is, then, it's like finding our unique calling requires you to feel worthy of your own uniqueness. It requires the courage to do soul searching in the first place. We need to step out of our comfort zone if we want to do the work that we were born to do. But many of us self-sabotage going in the direction because our inner child is scared. Because as children, we were rejected for who we were. So it feels outright dangerous to own our amazing gifts and share them with the world to receive money back in return. So who knows this feeling? Fear holding you back from doing something that is daring, but that is necessary for your own fulfillment. Let me know in the comments. Like, for me, I was pregnant with Lou when I did my shamanic apprenticeship. And, many people would have at that time advised me to, look for a job while I still could, or, at least when Lou was like a year old, look for a job then, and, put him into what's the early version of kindergarten in English? Like give him to any kind of childminder and just take on a job, to have a regular income. But I tried to explain that to my aunt at that point. That wasn't even an option for me. It was just not possible. I was so set on just stepping into my calling, and I was just guided so much step by step that just wouldn't have, it really wasn't an option. I could never have sat down and looked for jobs, or I also could not have given Lou away. So what I did is I created my own business, which was definitely not a, you know, decision that was easy, because I wasn't sure where the money was going to come in while I built my business. I didn't expect there to be money from the start, but there was pretty much from the start. Not much at the beginning, but there definitely was. And yeah, we lived on very little for quite a while, and then it just got more and more. So it takes courage, definitely. Um, and I think it's this kind of courage that makes life worth living, because if you never take any risks, if you always go down the beaten path, you're probably not going to live a very extraordinary life. And I know that all of you women here, you do want to have extraordinary lives. So another reason to heal that inner child wound. Hi, Chris. Lovely to have you here as well. How are you doing? Yeah, another way that your inner child wounds might be showing up is in your romantic relationships, if you're struggling a lot there. Your inner child is probably reenacting old family dynamics in an attempt to help you heal. I mean, this is what happens. The stuff that happened in our childhood that we couldn't process at the time, that we couldn't heal from at the time, it just keeps showing up in our life. And it's a chance. It hurts because it makes us look. Where there's pain, we have to take notice. And it's actually, we should be so grateful for that when that happens, because it means that we're given a chance to heal. And that always means stepping into a whole new level of enjoying ourselves and enjoying this amazing life that we've been given. So I struggled in my romantic relationships forever and ever. For like 10 years, they used to be so dramatic. I always experienced super dramatic separations, followed by extremely dramatic reunions. And, that's how I processed my mother's death, this kind of really big separation that was so painful. And a lot of that drama in my adult life, was just meant to remind me that there was still this pain that I had to deal with. And that's how I dealt with it, by creating all of this drama in my romantic relationships. But that's, of course, not the healthiest way to heal. If we really, if we know that we have an inner child that carries around those wounds for us, then we can really go in and do that healing in a much more aware, much more conscious way. And it's actually my romantic relationships that make me realize that that first moment of spiritual awakening that I had, that was when I was 18, and that was because of the relationship that I was in at that time. That's when I realized, that everything is connected, and I was like, oh my God, it's like reliving my childhood. So yeah. So who else observes old family patterns coming up in your adult relationships? And again, for me, it really was inner child healing that helped me process in a way that was not completely nerve-wracking and destructive. And then another way that your inner child might make itself, might try to grab your attention these days, is if you are a mother and you're triggered by your children. Magda, Brandy, Emma, Chris, you're all mothers, so you probably know what I'm talking about here. So, when we get really triggered by our children, then that's when they are touching on old wounds from our own childhood. And for me, with my son, that used to be stress. Whenever he did something that was unexpected from me or that required a lot of work from me, I reacted with stress and overwhelm and anger, exactly like my dad would react to me and my brothers when we were little. And this is really one of the things that I had to work on myself the most with. Because, you all know what that's like when you feel like, oh my God, I could be a better mother. I really want to be such a good mother to my child. But you get so drawn into that pattern. It's like it completely overwhelms your system, and you just can't react in any different way than you do. And of course, as mothers, we want to do everything that we can to make sure that our children don't have to relive the same stuff that we had to live through. So that can be a huge encouragement to engage in a lot of inner child healing. And yeah, it's very powerful. And even, nowadays when I get triggered by my son, or when I get overwhelmed, then there's not this total abyss that opens up in front of me anymore, because I have healed that wound. And it's really opened up the possibility for so much more presence and joy with my son, which I'm really grateful for every day. So yeah, let me check your comments. Emma, you're saying it's massive stress at work. Yeah. And Magda, you're saying you try to recognize those patterns with your kids and with your partner. Yeah, you're doing really, really well. And you have shamanic journeying to help you with it all, which is really amazing. And Emma, you're saying overwhelmed with my son not wanting to do anything and being challenging. Yeah. So our children, their behaviors are just meant to get our attention. And there's never actually anything wrong with them, and there's also nothing wrong with us. It's just meant for us to, not to react to what they're doing, but to actually sit down and realize why they're doing what they're doing. And often it is to make us aware of the wounds that we carry around. Our children carry so much for us, and it's really important that we have the courage to face those wounds. And I know, Emma, you're doing that. You're already in the inner child healing series, so you are doing a great job. Yeah, and all kinds of stresses that we experience in life, all these kinds of overwhelming things, most of them go back to a completely overwhelmed inner child that was confronted with things too big to process for a child. But now we have the capacities to deal with that if we know how to. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So these were just a few examples of how your inner child might be trying to get your attention, and why it's so important that we work with our inner child. She's just a really big part of who you are, and she holds a lot of your potential. And she is expressing herself anyway, and she will always express the wounds if you don't tend to them, because they're bleeding and they need your attention. And then only when the wounds are tended to will she open up to reveal all of those amazing qualities that you have in yourself, that you've always had, those innate abilities and qualities that make you who you are, that have always been there underneath of the wound. Yeah, so we have 3 ways of working with our inner child. The first one is integrating our inner child into our daily life. That's the practical approach. And then we need to go deeper in most cases. And we have 2 ways of doing that. We can do guided healing sessions, and we can do our own healing sessions. So let's talk about the practical approach first, how we can integrate our inner child into our daily life, because that's a really good starting point for all of us. This will really help your inner child to understand that you're trying to reestablish a connection to her, and she will start to trust you, and you will nurture her, and from there it will be a lot easier to go deeper into the healing process. And by the way, if you have questions at any point, please do let me know in the comments. Magda, you're saying, I learned to ask for help, and it keeps me sane. Asking for help is so important. Hi, Emily, beautiful. So lovely to have you here. I can really see that Saturdays, my 5 p.m. is a really good time for everybody. I think this is when our weekly sessions are going to happen from now on, because there's lots more people here than when I tried Friday, 2 p.m. my time. I was alone here. That's not fun. Yeah, so I want to introduce you to 4 really easy practical ways that you can integrate your inner child into your daily life and work with her. The first one is questions. Questions are so powerful. Questions are often much more empowering than answers. So I love asking myself all kinds of questions throughout the day, like, what will feel good now? That children always do what feels good, and that's mostly exactly what they need to be doing at that moment. But we've completely forgotten that. We always feel like, oh my God, I have to do this now, I have to do that now. We think about the future, we're stressed about something, we're worrying, we're not in the present moment. So a really good question to call ourselves back into the present moment and look to what we need and what will feel good is what will feel good now. I had that written on the wall for a while until I made it a habit to ask myself that question. And another really good question is, what would my inner child do now? Especially if you have children, observe them. You know, this could also really help you to reconnect to your inner child. And another beautiful question is, what would bring me joy now? I mean, isn't joy, isn't that what life is all about? That we feel happy, you know, in the moment. So this is a beautiful question. You can write it on a post-it to remember, put it somewhere you see it lots, into every room, you know, so that you're always reminded of coming back to yourself. That's really what it's about. And another beautiful way to work with your inner child in a practical way is with photos. So pick childhood pictures of yourself where you really feel like, oh my God, this is me, where you feel your uniqueness coming through, where you really feel like yourself, and then put those pictures one in each room, at least into your bedroom and into the bathroom, you know, so that you see it every time you wake up, you see it every time you go to bed. In the bathroom mirror when you brush your teeth. I love using those like 10 minutes a day when I brush my teeth, to just always have this 3-minute break of being like, you know, becoming really present with myself, and using that time for something constructive. And then, you know, every time you see the picture, just take a moment to really see yourself and feel into what this little person on the picture is feeling and what she needs, and then make space for that. So you can really see this picture as a representation of your inner child now, not necessarily as you as the child back then, but as your inner child now, and then really start to communicate with that picture. It's like, so little one, you know, what do you need right now? What do you feel like? And then just make space for whatever comes to you. Act on that guidance. Let me know in the comments if you have questions about what I'm sharing. If you like something that I'm sharing, do let me know. And another beautiful thing that you can do is to schedule a weekly or monthly treat for yourself that will bring you joy. It might be something that you already loved doing as a child, or something that you were forbidden to do as a child, but that you would have really loved to do. So for me, for example, that's singing, and that's horseback riding. I never had the chance to do horseback riding. And singing, you know, my mother was a singer. I never felt like I was good enough. So I just suppressed doing it. And doing that now, giving myself permission to make time for that, it makes me feel so alive and happy. Kate, you're saying you're listening and processing and writing. Amazing. I love hearing that. Yeah, and then what really helps our inner child as well is if we stop thinking so much and we start, you know, feeling our way through life much more. I mean, children don't think much, do they? They're just so much in the present moment. They use their mind only when they need it. And that's the way our minds are supposed to be used, as a tool and not as the driver of our being. But that's often what we use it for, and that's not good. That's just exhausting and annoying and stressful. So flowing out of the mind several times throughout the day, and landing in our heart space, landing in our bodies, that's so important, and that's such a great way to work with our inner child and make her happy. I have a practice for you to do that right here, which many of you will probably know. It's called Out of the Mind into the Heart. So you can find it in the Learning tab or in the Units, whatever it's called right now. And you can also just type it into the search function. You will find it come up for you. Yeah, so these are the practical things that you can do to nourish your inner child. And then there is deeper healing work, where we actually meet our inner child. We talk to her, we listen to her, we let her express herself. We go back into those moments where wounds were created, and we give her what she needs to feel safe and happy. And this you can do in 2 different ways, okay? You can participate in healing sessions where somebody is guiding you, or you can do your own healing sessions. So yeah, let's talk about the guided healing sessions first. This is where you let somebody else guide you within, because when you're really coming from that deep place within yourself, when you're expanding your consciousness, then it's so easy to perceive your inner child very clearly. And yeah, there are many ways to do this, and I find the most powerful one is guided shamanic journeys. Shamanism is at least 40,000 years old, but probably even 100,000 years old. It's our oldest holistic healing modality, and it developed at the same time all over the world, which just suggests that is a natural part of our human consciousness that has developed over time as our brains were growing. And we all have the capacity to access higher consciousness, and it just makes living so much more beautiful, so much more amazing, so much more magical. So here's how it works. A shaman plays the shamanic drum for you, and you fall into a natural trance state, because the drum reminds you of your mother's heartbeat inside the womb long before you even had thoughts. And that's why shamanic journeys feel so natural to most of us. Many of you have already experienced shamanic journeys with me. Some of you have even learned shamanic journeying with me. And those who haven't, you should. So yeah, I've been offering guided shamanic journeys one-on-one for a long time. Sorry guys, that's my little one coming home. Oh dear, he's crying. And yeah, I used to offer, or still offer, guided shamanic journeys one-on-one. And the results of the inner child sessions are just always so profound. And then last year, I created a whole inner child healing series that you can do on your own, just to make it more affordable for many of you, because my one-on-one spots, as you all know, they're expensive because I don't have that much time for them. So yeah, and this is where I guide you onto a path to heal your inner child step by step. And I will walk you through those steps right now, so that whether you join us for the series or not, you just understand what it actually takes. Because these 8 sessions that I created, they touch upon really the fundamental inner child wounds that we all have and all carry around with us to some extent. So the first session is all about, reestablishing trust with your inner child. It's the first check-in to see how she's even doing. I mean, how many of you know right now how is your inner child actually doing? She's such a fundamental part of you, but most of us aren't in touch with that important part, and yet she influences everything that happens in your life. So this first session is really about making her trust you again after she's been neglected for so long, and really invite her to go deeper with us later. And then after that first session, obviously, there is more work to do. A really important foundation is having fear transform into safety. I mean, especially right now in the middle of this pandemic, all this fear that we already have as a collective is coming up so prominently, and it's so important that we deal with it, because literally robs us of everything that makes life good. Because fear is never about the present moment, it's always about the future. And it's just not nice to live in this way. So many of us have this deep-seated belief that life is not safe for me. I am not safe. And this can lead to feeling afraid, stressed, overwhelmed, and to struggling in all areas of life. So this healing session is really designed to get to life is safe, I am safe and supported. And that's really the most important foundation. And then the next step is where we deal with rejection. Many of us feel so rejected on a really deep level. So we need that rejection to transform into worthiness. Many of us have this deep-seated belief of, I'm not wanted, I'm not deserving of good things. And this makes us feel unworthy of fully participating in life, and it leads to unfulfilling jobs and relationships where we constantly feel rejected and undeserving. And we just want to get to, I am meant to be. I deserve everything I want. I'm lovable just because I exist. Do let me know in the comments if if these beliefs are familiar to you. Magda, you're saying you hear my one outer child. Yeah, his daddy came today. He still lives in Vienna, so Lou sees him about once a week, and he's getting more and more upset by the fact that his daddy is not around all the time. So he always acts out a lot for the first hour or so that his daddy is here, but unfortunately it's not directed at me. He doesn't have any issues with me. I'm just happy about that. Emily, you're sending lots of love to me and Lou. Thank you so much. And you say you love comforting the inner child, turning sad memories into gratitude and new beginnings. Yes, absolutely. We do have that power, and it's amazing if we use it. And then the next step, after we've dealt with fear and with rejection, then comes transforming any feelings of being unloved to love, you know. And I mean, many of us have this deep-seated belief of, I am not loved as who I am. I'm not loved for who I am. I know I definitely had that so much because, you know, all I did was, when I was younger, after my mother died when I was still very young, to take care of my baby brothers, and still all I got was criticism from my dad. I never got a nice word from him, so I really felt like, oh my God, I just, you know, I'm not worthy of love, you know, whatever, nothing that I do can make me be worthy of love, which is a really hard one. And I'm pretty sure that many of you know what that feels like. So this is the belief that makes us feel unappreciated, unseen, unheard, insecure, not good enough. And this is why we start to mask who we are and adapt personas just to get through life. And what we actually obviously want to get back to is that deep-seated belief of, I am worthy of love, I am loved exactly as I am, I love myself, everybody loves me. So you see, this is what we can do with inner child healing. We can we can really transform fundamental beliefs that we have, and that's just so amazing when that happens, because it literally changes everything. And then another really, really important one, like when I'm doing these sessions, this is one that's so important for many of us, I know for me as well, is going from anger to sadness to peace. Many of us are so angry, and that anger can express itself like actively or passively, but many of us carry a lot of anger inside of us. And anger is a secondary emotion. It only gets created when we don't feel and process sadness. So in this session, our inner child can express her anger, and after that, you will probably both have a good cry, and then you'll feel so much peace, because it's just such a relief to let go in this way. Then we still have 3 more sessions to go. There's 8 sessions in total. And one that is so important is, many of us have this belief of life is a struggle. You know, we need to go back to that moment where we learned that life is supposed to be hard. And you know, it's a lesson that you learn to fit in, but it doesn't serve you anymore right now. So we can really let it go to welcome in the bliss and the ease that we really want, and that life can absolutely be. And the last 2 sessions are sort of like the cherry on top. So many of us live in perceived scarcity. If you're watching this right now, you're not really living in scarcity. You have a roof over your head, you have food in your fridge, you have a device from which to watch this from. But many of us feel like they don't have enough. There's this feeling of scarcity, this root chakra problem is really at the bottom of this, and we don't feel like we live in abundance. And we really want to change that belief to I always have everything that I need. So this is reestablishing the trust that life gives you what you need always. And once you have found that trust again, you'll see that money can start to flow into your life more abundantly because you relax. It's as simple as that. You know, when we are scared of not having enough, we will get all tight, you know, and then nothing can come in. It's like pressing your lips together when you want to be fed. It just doesn't work. Emily, you're saying resonates with me. We are all enough. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and the last session is going from feeling lost to stepping into your purpose. You know, so many of us have this act on this belief of I don't know who I am or why I'm here. And we really want to get to, I have a purpose, I know my purpose, I'm stepping into my purpose, I'm living my purpose. And your inner child knows why you are here and what your unique mission is. As children, we all know, and then we just forget. We get other ideas planted into our heads. But at some point, the foundation of who we are is starting to grow again, and then we need to really encourage that growth. So your inner child can absolutely reconnect you to your path, to that path that you left at some point. So the sessions really address the fundamental childhood wounds that all of us carry to some extent and that cause us to feel stressed, overwhelmed, that keep us small, that make us freak out about money, that make us give, and then become angry and bitter because we don't know how to receive. And, those wounds that make us work any 9 to 5 instead of finding our calling, they make us struggle in our intimate relationships and so much more. So this series is now available for you for only 222 euros. And that's roughly the same amount in dollars. And that's the investment for like 1.5 healing sessions with me. But you get 8. And I'm going to give you the link to that right now. Many of you have already participated in the live round of it last year. So now you can, for those of you who haven't, now you can get the recorded version. Yeah, so to recap, you can work with your inner child by including her in your day-to-day life in the practical ways that we talked about, which were the questions that you can ask, the pictures that you can put on around your house, and what else did we say? The flowing out of your mind, flowing into your heart, and there was one more thing. Remind me of what it was. Let me know if you have really absorbed this session more than I have. Yeah, and then there's another way to go about the deep healing work that I want to tell you about. So we've discussed how it works when you are guided within to work with your inner child. But you can also learn how to do your own shamanic journeys, to check in with your inner child again and again, to heal the past, joyfully live in the present, and create your wildest dreams. And this also, of course, enables you to really design the sessions to what your inner child specifically needs. Now, what is shamanic journeying? Many of you have studied it with me. Emily, you have. Magda, you have. You can let us know what that's like in the comments if you want to. Now, the same as with a guided shamanic journey, you can put yourself into a natural trance state by listening to a drum tape and then navigate the shamanic realm for yourself, which means, just travel the unseen realms of this universe, the energetic reality of everything that is. And that's just incredible because here you can not just do inner child work, but you can do shadow integrations, you can do higher self journeys, you can go back to past lives, you can consciously design your future, you can talk to deceased loved ones, and so much more. It's really a direct access to life in its purely energetic form. So whatever you want to create or whatever you want to put in the past, you can directly do it without the struggle of trying to shift the reality in front of you that has already manifested. Because that's what most of us try to do, and that's always going to be a struggle. Okay, we have to access the energy of the things instead if we want to make it all happen a lot easier. Now, shamanic journeying is something that not a lot of people teach, especially not in a safe way, especially not online. And the knowledge of how to do that is a real privilege because it makes you a very powerful person if you know how to do that. And it has long been passed down from shaman to apprentice, to apprentices who were chosen through an initiation process like I have and like my own apprentices have. And I have found, or rather developed, a way to teach shamanic journeying that is easy and pampering through the combination with yoga. And I teach that as part of the Shamanic Yoga Transformation, my 3-month group program. And there's a lot more inside. There's a 2-week course on how to get crystal clear on your calling. There's a training on how to master manifesting. There's the Chakra Healing Live series that we are doing at the moment, where you get practices and healing sessions for each of your chakras. We have our monthly full moon and new moon sessions, where you can let go of what no longer serves you and welcome in what you want to experience instead. And we have weekly live sharing sessions where you can ask all your questions and just let us know how you're doing, which is especially amazing right now in these times where we can't easily interact with so many other people in real life. So I recommend the guided healing series to everyone who is starting out with inner child healing, because you can give yourself more fully to the process when somebody else is holding space for you. But if you're burning to learn how to do your own shamanic journeys and expand your consciousness and abilities that way, and go beyond just inner child healing to shadow integrations and receiving your spirit animal and other spirit guides, I have a really cool deal for you today. You can join the transformation today for only 555 euros. I usually sell it for 9.99. So that's almost 50% off, and I will give you the Inner Child Healing series as a free bonus. So you can save a total of 666 euros if you join us now. And why am I doing this? It's because I know that many of you have been struck by the current crisis financially. But at the same time, this really is the best possible moment to step up and learn these powerful tools that will allow you to navigate a rapidly changing world with ease and just feel safe and guided each step of the way. I want that for all of you. So if you want to join us for the transformation, I will pop that link into the comments as well. Oh yeah, Emma, you really paid attention. I forgot the weekly and monthly treat. And Magda, you're saying shamanic journeying does miracles. Yes, exactly. And Emma, you're asking me who was my mentor, someone in the UK. No. I started training with a shaman in India. And then I went back to Austria and trained with the shaman that she had trained with in Austria. And she's a really old shaman who's lived with indigenous shamans from all around the world. And yeah, I feel extremely grateful to have been able to study under her. She's called Nura Gröger, and she lives in Austria in the countryside. And I actually just went to see her at the beginning of this week on Monday. And she did an amazing healing session on me, where I received 7 soul parts back, which is a lot, and they are integrating right now through the speed. My apprentices will know what I'm talking about. So yeah, big shifts for me at the moment. Emily is saying, I love all the amazing healing that happens from shamanic journeying. Yeah, oh God, I do too. Getting back the puzzle pieces, a truly rewarding way to live life and love oneself. Absolutely. Yeah, exactly, Kate. You're saying scheduling things that make you feel good and feeling more into your heart throughout the day. Ask questions, photos of your childhood. Perfect sum up. Thank you, Kate. Magda, you're saying girls go for it. Lilith's programs are really worth it. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, they're really good, if I say so myself. So do join us for it now if you want to, because I will definitely not offer this deal again. That you get the Inner Child Healing series for free alongside the transformation. And there's really easy payment plans for both options. So just to recap, start to include your inner child more in your daily life. Please do. She is there whether you ignore her or not, but including her consciously will make your life a lot easier and so much more enjoyable. And going deeper is also a must for everybody. Depending on your budget, you can either join us just for the Inner Child Healing series for 222 euros or for the transformation at 555, and you get the Inner Child Healing series as a free bonus. So any questions at this point? Also for everybody on the recording and for you who are live, as thoughts and feelings might still arise for you after the session, feel free to continue to share and ask questions right here in the comments or send me a private message. Haha, Emma, no, I'm gonna write down her name for you. It's written very differently. And no, she has not published any books. She's this real kind of shaman, who is just doing her healing work, living in the countryside, and people come to her. She doesn't have any social media presence or anything at all. She's this, very traditional kind of healer. She still travels a lot to meet with shamans all over the world, but that's it. Yeah. So shamanism isn't very much about writing books. I mean, I'm really grateful for the work that, Michael Harner, Sandra Ingemann have done for the field of shamanism, so that, more people know about the possibility of shamanism. But it's all about direct revelation. It's not about reading books. I mean, of course, it's interesting to read about other people's experiences, but I mean, the most important thing is really that you are experiencing it for yourself. That's what it's all about, that you get the power back, because we all have that power, but we just must decide to claim it. Good. If you have questions, keep asking. And yeah, I hope this session was inspiring and helpful. Thank you for being here. You all really mean the world to me. And I look forward to seeing you back here again next week for the next episode of Lilith's weekly live show. And also to see my transformation members and my apprentices later today for our sharing session. And yeah, do let me know what you want to learn about inside of our group for next session's topic. As you know, I always talk about what you most need. And I'm pretty sure it's going to happen at the same time as today, because many of you are able to be online at that time. We're all from different time zones, so this seems to be a time that works for everybody. So Saturday, 5 p.m. CET will probably be again. If not, I will let you know. You are very welcome, Emma. Good. Lots of love to all of you ladies. Mwah. Bye-bye.